I purchased an iPad Pro in the summer with the hopes that it would be the perfect note-taking tool for sixth form. I've been using it every day to take all my notes and do all my homework in sixth form for about 2 weeks now. The question you guys probably want an answer to is it worth the hype? I'm a big fan of upfront conclusions, so I'm going to tell you straight away that yes, it's worth the hype. However, not without its downsides. Let's just get straight into it. I've split this video into a couple different sections, which are all timestamped below if you want to skip to any particular one. The first thing I want to speak about is pricing. I feel like pricing is the obvious factor that makes people want to buy it or kind of steers them away from getting it, because it can be a hefty investment. With the iPad Pro 12.9-inch base model being £969 on release, it begins to question whether it's justifiable to spend so much money on something you're going to be using for school. Although I looked at it like an investment. So I'm going to break down the prices I paid for this whole entire setup with the Apple Pencil, Magic Keyboard, skin, screen protector, all sorts. So the iPad I have is the 12.9-inch 2020 with 128 gigabytes of storage. I paid £650 for this. It did end up breaking a couple months later. However, since it had warranty, I just went to Apple and they gave me a brand new free one to replace it. On the other hand, if you're not as lucky as me in finding a cheap price for 2020 iPad, it's not uncommon to find the 2020 iPad for around this price. And there's some other more budget options if you're looking maybe for the iPad Air or last gen 2018 iPad Pro. On Prime Day, I spent £99 on the Apple Pencil, £164.50 on the Magic Keyboard. Finally, I spent about £40 on miscellaneous things for the iPad, such as the skin for the Magic Keyboard, a screen protector for the camera lens, and the screen protector on the front that gives it the feeling of writing on paper. The total for this entire beefy iPad setup came to £959.49. Now, that is a lot of money for sure, but this, like I said, is an investment. I'm probably going to be using this for uni and for years to come. I also use this for my work and like other things, not just school. £160 is a great price for something that was, you know, £969 in 2020 for just the iPad alone. However, if you want to save some money, there are definitely some corners you can cut. Like, you don't really need the Magic Keyboard. It depends. I'll make a full video on that, but you could definitely cut prices there. Things like the skin I bought, you maybe don't have to buy that. So there's definitely ways you can get it a lot cheaper. The next section I want to move on to is note-taking. So I use GoodNotes. I used to use Notability, so I have both the apps. I might make a comparison video. However, GoodNotes just seems to work for me. This is mainly because of the organizational system they feature on the app, which is the kind of folder system. So you can make a folder and put stuff in that folder and put stuff in that folder. You can just keep making folders. And I think this is very useful for A-levels where, you know, content is split into lots of different subsections and you want to have access to all of that quickly. I think Notability is mainly made for, you know, uni students and people who don't need to split their topics up so much. I think note-taking on the iPad itself is very similar to writing on paper, if not better. I would say the feeling of writing on paper is definitely better. There's like nothing that trumps that, and there probably won't be anything like that for years to come. However, the note-taking experience is a lot better. What I mean by that is when I make a mistake, I can just rub it out. When I need to move a section around, I can just drag it and move it. If I did something wrong, there's an undo button. Like, I'm sure more than one of us have thought about just being able to undo things. Adding images in, super simple. Doing online homework, fantastic. The note-taking experience is far better and makes note-taking really efficient, especially in class. I was worried that I was going to be quite slow taking notes on the iPad. I bought it in the summer, so I was practicing a little bit, but honestly, I probably write around the same speed, maybe a little bit slower, but because of the things like the undo button, the easy eraser tool, being able to move text around, it makes up for it in the long term because I'm not spending time on, like, you know, rubbing stuff out. I would say with the screen protector I got it on Amazon for about £20. It's absolutely fantastic. The screen protector really does give you a bit of friction and makes it a lot better than writing on glass. If there was one thing I'd recommend that everyone should buy, and obviously if you have an iPad, you probably should already have it, but please get a screen protector that adds a bit of friction, like a matte one, because it will just make it far more enjoyable to write on. Moving on to the next section, which is using the iPad in school / portability. So my school's pretty good with the fact that they'll let you take in laptops, they'll let you use tablets. They quite encourage the use of a technology. And not only do they encourage it, they facilitate for it by putting like PowerPoints on Teams and putting homework online, which means that you don't really have to use paper. However, if I do get paper handouts, which I have to admit happens more often than not, then I'll just do the work on paper. So I carry a pen with me, and then I just take a picture of it so I can give the physical copy to my teacher and then have that picture sorted out into a folder. Not too difficult. When I get home, I just take a picture of the things I've got on that day. With GoodNotes and Notability, you can easily scan in documents as PDF. If you want, you can just edit them there as well. I really love having the iPad because it just gives me everything that I'm working on at my fingertips. For example, in my freeze, if I decide to remain in school, then I'll just have the iPad. I usually bring the Magic Keyboard along with me just in case I have to do a bit of typing for other projects, but it's just really nice to have it in my freeze, really nice to be able to do work. In my school, they want to make sure you're organized, so they check if you have folders, but I've just spoken to my teacher and they're like, yeah, as long as it's organized, then it's fine for you to use the iPad, which is great and is super organized. Portability wise, the iPad is fantastic. You may have heard that the Magic Keyboard makes it quite heavy, and that is true, it does. The Magic Keyboard has to obviously counterbalance the weight of the iPad, but even with the Magic Keyboard, the iPad is much lighter than a folder with a bunch of sheets in it. And some days I don't even take the Magic Keyboard in, I'll just put like a regular case on it, and it's incredibly light. Like my back doesn't hurt, I don't have to carry in a bunch of books. Maybe I'll bring my textbooks, but having a big folder on my back is a thing of the past now that I have the iPad. I have a friend who has the 11-inch, and I don't believe there's the biggest difference in portability. Although the 12.9-inch is heavier, it's not a noticeably heavier thing. It's not like much heavier, if you get what I mean. Fittingly, this video was kindly sponsored by Surfshark VPN. So what can I tell you about Surfshark VPN? Not only is it fast and easy to use, jam-packed with features, but works across unlimited devices on a single subscription, it also does the amazing things like keeping your data secure when connecting to different Wi-Fi network or accessing block sites in different countries. My favorite thing with a VPN though is being able to watch unlocked content on Netflix. I love The Office. I rewatch The Office all the time, but they've removed it from Netflix UK, so I generally switch to like America or Spain so I can watch The Office. The most useful thing Surfshark VPN does for me though is when I'm in school, my school Wi-Fi tends to block things like Spotify and other social media apps, which I find a bit weird. But when I connect to Surfshark VPN, it's quick, it's easy, it's simple, and it allows me to have access to Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, all these sites that would normally be blocked on the school Wi-Fi. And if you try Surfshark VPN and you don't like it, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to checking it out. So check the link in the description for 83% off, as well as 4 months for free using code Udoka. Remember, this is a holiday special offer. Thank you again to Surfshark VPN. Now let's talk about using the iPad at home. So I mentioned this earlier, but doing homework is far easier, especially for maths. Obviously I take maths on my A levels, and sometimes we get sheets and things uploaded, and it's basically impossible to do maths on a computer and typing. It's just so frustrating. So when I get sheets, I can download it, share it into GoodNotes, do the work, and easily share it back into Teams, send it as a PDF, and make it easier for my teacher to read. I think also for homework, due to GoodNotes having an amazing search feature where it basically just recognizes your handwriting and can recognize words that you put, it means that when I'm, for example, stuck on an exam question and I know we've done it in class, I can easily search up the thing on GoodNotes. The wonderful thing about these note-taking apps on the iPad is that they come with desktop applications for the Mac, so if you don't have a Mac, that's a bit annoying. However, it's not something I couldn't live without. It's great though, because like I said, then I can have all my notes on my computer, I can make them larger, I can, you know, take screenshots and easily search through them. Being able to have the notes on my computer and be easily able to search through them makes it incredibly easy to make Anki cards. Now I speak about Anki a lot. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a online flashcard application. However, it focuses on spaced repetition. A lot of medical students use it and a lot of uni students use it because it's so effective. And with my Anki cards, I usually use the textbook, but now I've been kind of veering away from that and using my notes just because it's so easy to sort through my notes. I can have it split screen with Anki and just have my notes on the right side. If I need to take any diagrams from my notes that I've drawn, I can easily just screenshot and insert it into Anki. So making Anki cards when having digital notes and an iPad, just an absolute joy. Some other functionalities for the iPad that I use it for is just when scripting videos, doing work, replying to emails, entertainment. So it's a wonderful all-round tool. For example, I really love the Magic Keyboard. It's actually quite a nice keyboard. I mean, I like my mechanical keyboard. However, it's much faster to type on the Magic Keyboard due to it having lower travel. However, it's really nice and portable. Like, don't get me wrong, my MacBook is great. However, taking around a MacBook is not as portable, not as fun as just taking around an iPad. Whenever I'm meeting up with friends to do work, I can just take this iPad. It's fun to actually do work on, if you understand what I mean. Entertainment wise, I don't have any social media downloaded on my iPad. I have Netflix and like Disney Plus and Amazon Prime, things like that. But mainly this is kind of a work iPad. I don't want to download those kinds of apps on there because I feel like I'll just get distracted. But if you are watching Netflix, maybe on a flight or something like that, it would be great to have. Hopefully when I'm going on holiday soon, I could take that with me and get the full experience with that. Next section I want to talk about is battery life. This is incredibly important when you're relying on something to do all of your schoolwork on. You want it to last you the whole day. So I can wholeheartedly say that the iPad easily will last you a full school day. And I'm talking keeping on at high brightness and having it on at all times, basically just treating it like a regular notepad. For me on a full day, so from 8:35 till 3, I find that I end with about 50% left, and that's just like high brightness, heavy usage. So the iPad does have a great battery life, and that's also using the Magic Keyboard. If you're being conservative, you could get maybe 2 or 2.5 days out of it. If you're, for example, turning the brightness down or turning the iPad off when you're not taking notes, it's far easier to stretch the battery life to much further than you anticipated. And if you, for example, forget to charge your iPad, sometimes I do that, or sometimes if it's on 50%, I don't want to leave it charging all night. So what I do is I just wake up in the morning, I have about an hour to get ready, so I just put it on charge. And in that hour, you can get quite a bit of percentage in. The charging is pretty quick. You just have to make sure to use, you know, the Apple charger they provide, which is actually pretty good. So if you're ever worried about battery life, do not be. It will last the most strenuous of days. I've said a lot of good things about the iPad. However, there are some downsides, and I want to talk about those now. The first downside that I encountered was that I once forgot to charge my iPad. I'd used it for about 2 days already, and I'd forgot to charge it in the morning. So I woke up and I probably had like 25%. Luckily, I only had a half day, so it wasn't too hard. And because of the fact that my school is, again, pretty modern, we have plugs everywhere, so I was able to charge it in class. However, if your school is not like that, or you know, it's really low, then you might have to look into investing in a power bank if you're really forgetful. However, I do take a charger with me, so it's not the biggest issue. Next issue, and the most major issue for most people, would be the price point. I'm in a very fortunate position that I'm able to afford something like this, but not everyone has a spare £1,000 lying around to get this full setup. I think when looking into it, you have to realize that, do I actually need this, or can I just get away with, you know, writing paper notes? But then again, you don't have to get this exact setup. Apple now obviously have released things like the iPad Air, which is at a fantastic price point. You could get the 2018 iPad, you get the 11-inch. That's a great way of saving money. Like, you don't have to get the bigger iPad. I just decided to because I had a bit more extra cash to burn, and I wanted something that could support split screen quite well, because obviously it's a bigger iPad, and I wanted something that's a bit closer to the size of an actual piece of paper. Next downside would be if you don't have a Mac or some other sort of computer, I wouldn't recommend buying this. A lot of people talk about this. The iPad would not replace your computer. I think just the fact having a desktop is so important. The iPad can't just replace it. Good to have as in like another tool in your, you know, belt of tools, but it's not useful if you don't already have a desktop computer or maybe a laptop that you can hook up to like a monitor or something like that. Don't get an iPad if you're looking to get it as a standalone product. That's just my recommendation and what a lot of people agree with. Another downside that's kind of obvious, if you're clumsy and break things easily, maybe be careful with the iPad because it's a very expensive piece of equipment. It would break if you're a very clumsy person and constantly dropping it. I don't know, that's just a point I thought of and maybe it applies to you. Final downside that I found in my first 2 weeks was writing paper notes is obviously a lot more fun. Like writing with pen to paper, definitely far more enjoyable than just writing on a tablet. However, like I said, it's kind of a trade-off because you get some other benefits when writing on the iPad. But if you're someone who's really into the experience of writing on paper, this might not be for you. The last thing I want to speak about is some miscellaneous points, such as the fact that sharing notes is so simple to do with the iPad. You can easily share them to your friends. Most people use iPhone nowadays, but if not, you can just email them, pop them all on a Google Drive. So if your friend is not in that day, it's super simple to give them all your notes, which I really like. Also, things like adding online textbooks, specifications, and PDF is just an absolute joy, because you can just share it directly into the GoodNotes app or the Notability app and edit it perfectly. Like I have tons of like PDF notes for biology and things like that, which I can just add super simply into my folders, and it's just really nice to have, especially having access to the specification in lessons without having like 10,000 pieces of paper on me. Also, making Anki cards is, like I said, fantastic. I can just copy and paste diagrams. I don't have to rely on the textbook as much. That way I'm putting things into my own words as well. The note-taking apps on the desktop are actually really well made. They're incredibly well made. They're simple, they are very intuitive, so the apps on the desktop aren't bad. I know previously the Notability app was lacking a bit, but the GoodNotes app I found is amazing. My next miscellaneous point is having all your notes on you at all times is invaluable. It's so good because whenever teachers are like, oh, let's think back to first lesson, then I can be like, okay, let me just go back to first lesson. This will become more and more valuable throughout the year because of the fact that you would have written more notes. Right now, you know, we haven't had that many lessons, but I just know this is going to be very helpful. And if a teacher asks something, I can easily search it up and it'll come up with like the last week's notes that I did and the word I'm looking for. My last point would be that you could probably get away with having the 11-inch, or you could definitely get away with having the 11-inch. If you have some extra cash to burn, or you really need the 12.9-inch because, you know, you're doing a lot of split screen, then yeah, for sure, go for the 12.9-inch because it's great. You won't be disappointed. The screen's absolutely huge. It's fantastic. So yeah, if you want, go for the 12.9-inch. If you're on a budget, the 11-inch is a great option, or even the iPad Air is a great option, because most of the time in class you'll be using the iPad horizontally, so there's enough room. Like I don't think I've ever used the iPad vertically to write notes. It's just very weird. So using the iPad horizontally, there's plenty of space on the 11-inch as well. So if you're trying to save some money, definitely go for that. On the other hand, if you're looking to get the Magic Keyboard, I'll probably not recommend going with the 11-inch because the typing experience on the Magic Keyboard with the 11-inch is just not it. My friend has it and it's so uncomfortable. With the 12.9-inch, it's very close to a full size like keyboard, as in like the keys are full size, but on the 11-inch it's not. So typing on it doesn't feel nice. It's very cramped. If you're looking to get the Magic Keyboard, probably go for the 12.9-inch. Now this video was just going through my first impressions of the iPad. I'll make an updated one in the next few months when I've had more time with it and more opportunities to get used to it. But let me know if you guys have an iPad or you're thinking of getting an iPad in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out some of my other videos. Don't forget to subscribe and have a productive week.